I've been thinking for a while now about how best to introduce myself to you guys. I mean, should I make some sort of funny, quirky video, or I don't know. I'm really new to this whole thing. So, I looked up some debuts of other people here on the internet for inspiration. And a lot of them start with something called a lore video. So, let's talk about my lore. My past. Where to begin, though? That's always the hardest part, right? I mean, I have lived such a long life. I've seen and experienced so much. It's hard to say exactly what led me, some 300 plus year old undead schmuck, to start making videos on the YubTubs. It was a lot of different things. So, perhaps before getting into the reasons for why I'm here talking to you now, let's start with the how. Let's start all the way back at the beginning, over 300 years ago. Tell me, what's your earliest memory? If you really had to think about it, how far back can you remember? A birthday party, your parents reading you a bedtime story, or maybe even something as simple as playing with your favorite toy when you were little. For me, it's a different experience. I remember flashes. Just like still images, people, monsters, fighting. There was shouting, too. The sounds of battle and bloodshed. It was a war. At least, that's what I think it was. Between who and for what, I couldn't tell you. Just that I almost definitely met my end there. The final image burned in my mind's eye is a bit blurry, but there's someone there, looking at me, hand outstretched towards me. They call my name, but it's not a name I recognize, nor can I hear it. It's too muffled. What comes after that was the darkness, the void. To this day, I wish I could tell you exactly where I was, but I don't have the faintest clue. Maybe that's all that awaits us after we pass on, the infinite, crushing blackness of eternity. But I was conscious. That was the weird part. I could think I was self-aware, for lack of a better term, but I couldn't remember who I was or how I got there. I had those scraps of memory, the images I told you guys about, but that was it. No body, no arms or legs to flail about. I was nothing but floating thoughts wandering through a starless night sky. I remember crying. Being nothing but a ball of thoughts and emotions, I guess there was little more I could do. Damn. I was so confused and scared. And I don't know how long I was in the void, but I was there long enough to get lonely. Long after my crying had ceased. With no real way to tell the passage of time, I drifted endlessly. I honestly couldn't tell you if I was there a few minutes or a few thousand years. After a while, every passing moment just blended together, till I became completely numb. Deciding that whatever existence I found myself in at the moment, it wasn't one worth living. if you could even call it that. Thankfully, it wasn't long after that I heard her voice. It was soft and gentle, filled with warmth. She called to me, compelling me to follow the sound. And let me tell you, bruv, it didn't exactly take me much convincing to follow those instructions. I was desperate for anything besides the darkness. So I used everything in whatever the hell I had left to swim my way through the nothingness to find my way towards that voice. As I got closer to it, I remember a light. Not like one in the distance, more like the darkness slowly turning to white. All of it, everywhere, all around me. Her voice grew clearer and closer the more I traveled. Till finally, everything was dark again. But it was different this time. I could feel things. I had a body. Arms and legs, fingers and toes. It took a moment or two for me to really get them to move. I remember feeling a cloth over my face and the rest of my body, and I feared I had regained consciousness in an unmoving cadaver. Panic took hold of me, and I just started convulsing. Desperate to move something, I moved everything? Oh, and I was screaming too. Hey, listen, you try getting resurrected from the dead and not freaking the hell out. The fabric falls off my face as I sit up, and I'm greeted by an odd sight. A man in a lab coat, and a woman in a big pointy hat. As I take a quick glance around my new surroundings, I find myself on a metal slab, hoisted off the ground by some chains that went up to a large opening in the ceiling. There was a storm raging outside, and I could feel the rain falling down on me before the aforementioned opening began to close, shutting with a dull thud that echoed throughout the chamber. Little droplets of water continued to plip and plap on the metal slab, while I turned my attention towards the room I was in with these strangers. Said room itself was dark, but there was lots of machinery and sciencey stuff. Beakers, test tubes, brains in jars, you know what I'm talking about. Thunder roared outside and lightning flooded the room with light through the windows, letting me get a better look at the strangely dressed woman in front of me. She was a woman of average height and weight, although she had some wide hips. Her age looked somewhere between 30 and suspiciously youthful for anything past 30. Adorned on her was a black shawl, covering a dark chocolate brown dress. Long, flowing, frilly, covered in intricate black beadwork. Her skin was pale like a ghost, a stark contrast to her charcoal hair. And she had the most piercing blue eyes I've ever seen. Sometimes I swear they would glow under the wide brim of her hat. Around her were sigils and lines drawn on the floor in chalk. Candles all over the place. She was the one who spoke first. Hers was the voice that I heard. She asked me how I felt. Cold was all I could really say. It was then that I realized I was soaking wet from the rain, and I was trembling. In response, she took off her shawl and draped it around my shoulders. Then she began to explain who the two of them were. She told me her name was Susan Hathaway. She was a witch who specialized in communicating with the dead. She had a smile on her face the whole time, and a clear excitement she seemed to be trying to contain. Perhaps not to scare me, but as long as I knew her, I can't recall a single second where I ever felt anything but safe around her. Even all the way back then, she just had that feeling about her. The man cleared his throat and drew my attention in his direction. I would later learn that he was roughly the same age as Susan, but at first glance he looked much older. Streaks of gray and silver in his black hair that was long and tied up in a ponytail. He had deep lines in his face that matched his exhausted eyes. His skin was deeply tanned, despite the fact that the man looked like he hadn't stepped into direct sunlight in years. I figured it must have been natural. One might think he had some unkempt beard or stubble to complete the look, but he was actually clean-shaven. Found out after the fact that he had better success raising the dead than growing facial hair. Tough luck. His attire looked like he bought some well-used mad scientist costume from a Goodwill. The most striking feature was the dingy lab coat, of course, then the rusty goggles atop his head that had way too many lenses. Looking at the rest of him, he had a long since cleaned gray suit jacket under his coat, as well as some black pants and shoes. I remember looking between him and Susan and wondering how the hell the two of them ended up in the same room together. He introduced himself after that, calling himself Clayton Darksky, a scientist researching ways to bring the dead back to life. He would go on to explain that he tried over the last decade every scientific method possible to achieve his goal, but nothing worked. It wasn't until a chance encounter with a certain witch in the marketplace that he decided to try something a little unconventional, and that I was the product of their collaboration. I remember looking down at my hands, seeing the less than normal skin tones and all the stitch work covering me. Clayton said no one was exactly eager to lend their dead to his experiments, so I had to be cobbled together piece by piece. Piece by piece, I said. Who were these people? Who am I? I don't even know my own name. Am I one of them? Am I the soul occupying this form, or am I all of them, or none of them? Susan asked me if I remembered anything from before, of my previous life. I told her about the flashes and that it was all I could remember. She told me that if I don't remember my past life, then I am a new life, completely original. Nothing like what came before, and no one will be exactly like me afterward. That I am my own person, and that I shouldn't dwell too long on existential thoughts. "Theseus!" Clayton shouted. I remember Susan and I looked up to him, confused, wondering why he was shouting. "You'll need a new name for your new life, and your plight reminds me of the thought experiment called the Ship of Theseus. If you replace every board on a ship, is it still the same ship as before?" Susan said it was a bit archaic, but I told her I liked it. I don't know why, even now I don't know why, but something about that name sounded familiar, and I've been Theseus Darksky ever since. You might wonder why I didn't take the name Hathaway. Well, that's because Miss Hathaway became Mrs. Darksky, and the two of them would, in time, become my parents. In the following years, I'd learn about technology and science from my father, and witchcraft and magic from my mother. When I told them I wanted a sibling, we reattempted the experiment, but it didn't work. It never worked again. There was no shortage of lost souls out there, and we had another vessel ready to go. But we could never replicate what happened to me. Mom and Dad both had their theories, but both concluded there must have been something special about my soul. I wish I could tell you what it is. I wish I found a way to make it work. Because days turned to weeks, weeks to months, months, years, decades. I watched as my parents aged, even my mother, while I stayed the same. You'd think a body made from stitched together corpses wouldn't last very long, but again, there was something about my soul that kept this bag of bones together. Not only did I not age, but I never got sick. Technically, I didn't need to eat or drink. I don't even need to breathe. Any damage this body takes patches itself back together in time. Lost my hand once. That sucked. Anyway, in the twilight years of my parents' lives, I started looking for a way to save them. If they brought me back, there had to be a way to save them, but I couldn't find it, no matter how hard I tried, and then Dad died. I tried to bury my sorrow in research, determined to find a way to bring him back and save my mother, but Mom stopped me. "It's all right, little boo," she told me. "I'll be with your father, and we'll be all right. And you'll be all right without us. I don't want you sticking around this dusty old house when I'm gone. I want you to get out there and see the world. See everything it has to offer. Promise me you'll go out there and make some friends. You deserve some. But I'm scared, Mom. I don't want to be alone. Not again. Not like in the void." "Listen to me, little boo. Wherever you go, your father and I will always be with you. Our bond is just as strong and everlasting as your soul. I promise you that. And the memories we've forged together are eternal. Now get out there. I want the world to see my baby boy and love him just as much as I do." She passed that night, slipped away in her sleep. I spent the next couple of days crying. I had to stop long enough to bury her next to Dad, then went on crying some more. I didn't need to eat, I didn't need to sleep, so crying was my existence for the next week or so. And every time I managed to stop, something would remind me of them and it would start all over again. I remembered her words to go out and see the world, and getting out of that place that did nothing but remind me of them. I knew I had to leave or I would never recover. So with a heavy heart and no one at my side, I wandered away from the only home I had ever known. That's mostly what I did as decades turned to centuries. Moved from one place to the next, glamored to appear not undead, picking up a job here, living there, meeting new people, forming friendships, romantic relationships, breaking them, being broken. I have been so many different people. I'm not even sure if Mom and Dad would recognize me anymore. What's worse, everywhere I went, I saw the darkness of humanity. Hatred, jealousy, greed. It existed in everyone. So much so that I wondered what was the point of continuing on when this is all I would see. But every now and then, there's a shining light in the darkness. A random act of kindness, done with no interest of profit or personal gain. These people are out there, living to help others, existing for smiles and laughs, fighting back against the onslaught of oppression and wickedness, just so they can have a chance at happiness tomorrow. I took peace in that, knowing that good people are out there, making friends with them, knowing them, and loving them as long as I could, until death came for them. Then I'd carry their stories, their memories with me, everywhere I go. And now, because of this, I can move on with a smile. It always hurts to lose a friend. But just like my mom said, they're always with me. Every grin, every chuckle, every blush, every kiss. and I feel so lucky to have gotten the chance to know them. This basically brings us up to date. That's how I lived my life up till now. So how did the YouTube thing happen? Well, I watched the birth of YouTube, the explosion of social media, and while there's a lot of things about social media that isn't great, I saw this as an opportunity to reach out to everyone in the world so that maybe I might be able to become friends with you all and share with you my stories, my experiences, my knowledge, my memories. So, get comfortable. Make sure to like and subscribe, as all the cool kids say these days. And let's create some memories together. Hi there. Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to my debut. It's nice to see you all here. I hope you enjoyed the lore video, as simple as it was. I'm not an animator, I'm not that great of an artist, but I can write a little bit, so I guess that's kind of what my intro was going to be. But without further ado, let's get into things here. Welcome to the Memory of Darksky, the adventures of Theseus Darksky. Whee! So, let's just get right into it. I don't want this to be too long because I know I tend to ramble. I am Theseus Darksky. That's my name. Just watched the lore video, so you know how that came to be. Let's get into the details here of important information so that you guys can get to know me a little bit better. Height, I am 6'1", or 185 centimeters. Age, 300 plus. I've been around for quite some time. Birthday, October 13th. I'm a spooky Halloween season baby. Audience name, that's you guys. I've decided to go with the Ghosties. I think that's real cute. I've kind of wanted to have like a similar feeling to like what is it? The Haunted Mansion's is it 999 Happy Haunts? You know, something sort of like that. So like, I wanted you guys to be like little ghost pals. So that's what you guys are gonna be. You're gonna be the Ghosties. Color code, #00FF8A. Otherwise known as spring green, although I've always sort of called it ghost green. Pronouns, he, they. I am what is considered a demi-male. For those who don't know what that is, because it's not exactly all that well known, it basically means I don't really care about my gender. I don't really associate myself with it too hard. With that said, I do not experience any sort of body dysmorphia when being referred to as a male. Species is a little complicated. So physically, this body that is comprised of multiple bodies is human. All persons involved are or were human. My soul, however, the thing holding all this shit together is, I don't know what it is. My parents and I, we could never figure it out, and I'm almost afraid to know, right? I'm almost afraid to know what I was in my previous life. All I can say is that it almost definitely wasn't human. Race. I don't know if you can tell by my patchwork skin. I'm a bit of a mixed bag, but breaking character for a moment here. IRL, I am half Native American, half white. So figure it's very important for that to be known about me. I don't want to give away too much information about my real life self, obviously, but I feel like that is very important for people to know. Orientation. I am what is called demisexual. I'm fucking complicated, as you can see by all this shit here. I am demisexual, which means that I don't really experience sexual attraction. I would never consider getting in bed with someone that I do not know, that I don't know personally. There has to be a pre-established relationship there. There has to be no small amount of trust in there. That sort of thing. That's basically what being demisexual means. Besides that, I'm pan. I'm kind of into whatever. If I love you enough, I don't give a shit what you are, basically. And then I am... This is a bit obscure. This is something specific to Native Americans, something called Two-Spirit, which is a bit of... It's a mix between, like, sexual orientation and folklore, religion, spirituality sort of thing, where basically it refers to that I have a masculine spirit and a feminine spirit. There are things that are undeniably masculine about me and things that are undeniably feminine about me as well. And like I said, that's something very specific to Indigenous Americans. So, which is why I felt it was very important that people actually know that IRL, I am Indigenous American. Languages. Not much. I speak English, of course, not always the best at it. I try my hardest. And, random bit of trivia here, I also speak duck. So I guess I can give an example here of, let's see, how would you say, you might ask, how would you say, hello, how are you? In duck, you would say, hello, how are you? So it's a very obscure language, you know, I'm still learning it, but I think I've gotten pretty good at it, so. Moving on. Why did I put in so much of this fancy shit? I probably could have saved a bunch of time if I didn't do this. Alright. Likes. Writing. It is my dream. What makes me happiest the most at this stage of my life is writing. For years now, I've just been losing myself in little stories that I write in my head, and it wasn't until like about a year ago that I finally started like typing shit out. Right? I mean, like, I've had tons of OCs over the years, and like I've done little fan fictions and like little drables and lore posts and stuff like that, but it wasn't until around this time last year that I really started to write out an actual like novel, and I've been working on that. We'll talk more about that later. Drawing. I used to be very passionate about drawing when I was younger, but I still do a lot of drawing nowadays. All the art you see on the channel and on my Twitter and stuff like that is, well, for the time being, I do have some commissions in the works, but most of the drawings and whatnot are done by me. I'm not the best, but I'm certainly proud of the work that I've made so far. Video games. Obviously. Take a look at my channel. It's nothing but video games. It'd be weird if I did so much video game content and did not enjoy it. So, expect to see more video games, and we'll talk about what kind of video games later. Gunpla! I fucking love Gunpla. Honestly, I kinda got into Gunpla before I got into Gundam. Gunpla is what got me into Gundam, honestly. So, I don't know, I love, like, I guess in general, I like model making, but making little mechs, I love mechs. So, I adore it. It's so relaxing, and it's a fun way to pass the time if you have the time. Food. I like food. I like it enough to cook a very decent meal every now and then. I don't enjoy cooking all that much just because it's kind of like work, but I love food, and I am so down to try new things. I get very easily bored of just having the same thing over and over again, so I'm always looking for new food to try and enjoy. I like cute boys. I guess I should clarify. When it comes to the kind of boys that I like, I tend to gravitate towards feminine boys, I guess you could say. Feminine men is something. Otherwise, just kind, caring, compassionate, that sort of thing. You'll see that in the characters I enjoy and write, I'm sure. So what kind of women do you like, Theseus, you might ask? Strong women. Just muscles and tall. If a woman can lift me, oh my god. So those are the likes. Too many of these. Get out of here. Next. Dislikes. What do I not enjoy? Parties. I'm pretty antisocial. Even if I'm going with friends, I do not like being around a lot of people that I do not know. It's very uncomfortable for me. I don't like being around people I don't know in general. So, yeah, that's a thing. Bland food. I experience a lot of bland food after having so much. I'm trying now to try different foods from different cultures, and just food with no seasoning, just stick it in the oven, bake it, don't do anything. Ugh, I can't stand it. My own allergies. Let me tell you. I love cats. I love dogs. I love stuffed animals and plushies, and I'm fucking allergic to all of them. I've been allergic to cats and dogs my entire life. Don't know why that was ingrained onto my soul, or if it's part of one of the bodies I'm made up of, but thankfully that's gotten less and less severe over time. However, a new allergy recently in the last couple of years has been dust mites and dust. I'm fucking allergic to dust mites, which means that I'm like constantly having to wash my sheets and my pillows, and I can't keep my plushies and stuffed animals on my bed anymore because they just fucking harbor the things. So, yeah, I don't like it. Me being a perfectionist sometimes. If you were following the channel before my debut, you might have noticed that the last month I've sort of done nothing because I've been focusing on making the debut as perfect as possible. And let me tell you, I'm glad that I was able to boil this down to something simple that I can handle in a reasonable amount of time. Because I was like, oh man, I'm gonna make like this elaborate comic, and then I'm gonna pay somebody to make an animatic for it, voice acting, music, and so it's gonna be so perfect. And then I remembered that I have no money. And so I was like, I'll just do everything myself. I can do it. And you know what? I could if I had maybe 2 years to do it. So I was storyboarding everything out, and I quickly realized that I simply do not have the time to make it as perfect as I wanted it to. But to begin, I think this is more than adequate. I think this is very good, what I've decided to do, as it allows me to do other things. Rude customers. Shout out in the comments if you have also had the unfortunate experience of working in customer service. I've had many jobs over the years, and anything involving customer service is just a miserable experience because of the customers. I don't want to spend too much time talking about negative things, so let's just, if you know, you know. You know. So let's just move on. My memory issues. I'm plus 300 years old, and I am forgetting shit constantly. Like, yeah, like, obviously there's big important moments that I remember, obviously. I remember my mom, I remember my dad, I remember friends, family from across the years. But, like, I forget what I ate yesterday. I forget what I'm supposed to do the next day if I don't write it down or set a reminder. And like, especially with like stories and stuff, like if I'm watching a show or an anime or something like that, I just forget shit constantly. I can tell you that my favorite Gun Plus series, my favorite Gundam series is probably, I want to say it's Gundam Build Divers Re-Rise. It was just like the perfect amount of fun adventure mixed with the right amount of serious tone. It wasn't too kid friendly, and it wasn't all doom and gloom and the government is evil and kill all the child soldiers like all the other Gundam shows. So that was my favorite. I cannot for the life of me tell you what the main character's name is. I can't tell you the name of the main villain. I can't tell you the name of the main Gundam. Like, there's just so much about it that I've forgotten. And I'm like that for a lot of things, and it kind of bothers me how much I really forget. Which is honestly kind of half the reason why I started making YouTube videos in the first place, is so that I can go back and watch my reactions to things and remember. It's kind of like a scrapbook for me. So, moving on. Next, we have games that I like. So this is going to be probably the main bulk of what you're going to see on the channel. Final Fantasy XIV. Take a look at those videos. You'll see a lot of it. Final Fantasy in general. So far, I did FF7 Remake. Obviously, I've been doing 14 since Stormblood. And I plan to do mostly every Final Fantasy going forward. So obviously you're going to see FF16 on there coming up this year. Tales of Arise, it was my first Tales game, and I loved it dearly. It was so much fun. Is there extra letters up there? Why is it there? Never mind. Ignore that. Anyway, Tales of Arise, so any Tales games coming out in the future, or maybe if they re-release some old ones for current consoles, I'll jump on that as well. Dark Souls, Bloodborne, Elden Ring. We are a FromSoft supporter on this channel, so I've never played fucking that mech series that they made, but I'm gonna when the new one comes out. I can't remember the name of it right now because memory issues, but I think I've got Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3 on the channel. I've got my entire blind run of Elden Ring on the channel, so go check that out. I want to do Bloodborne again in the future. It's been so long since I played Bloodborne. Skyrim, Elder Scrolls in general. I played a bit of Oblivion, but I spent so much time in Skyrim. So probably whenever the new one comes out in like 2030, we'll probably do that. Nier Automata. I adore that series. I adore the story. It's so good. If you played it, you know. The Spider-Man PlayStation games for PS4, PS5. I love those games. So looking forward to Spider-Man 2, which I think is coming out this year. Ghost of Tsushima, it was like that perfect blend of Assassin's Creed and feudal Japan that we always wanted, that the Assassin's Creed team said that they could never do, but then Ghost of Tsushima did it. So I loved that game. My playthrough of that is up on the channel as well, so go check that out. Horizon Zero Dawn was an unexpected delight. I still need to play the new one, but it was kind of like the sequel to Terminator that I always wanted that I didn't know that I could have. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get around to the sequel sometime soon. And then we got all these. Devil May Cry. Love those games. The Batman Arkham games. Metal Gear. Especially Revengeance, obviously. Demon's Souls. God of War. Smash Bros. Pokemon. I just got into Pokemon recently. Just got into Hades recently. So much of my fucking humor comes from Team Fortress 2 and the Team Fortress 2 community back in the day. Did I mention Final Fantasy XIV? There's going to be a lot of Final Fantasy XIV on this channel, so get ready for that. Genshin Impact and Kingdom Hearts. Like, there's so much about me that comes, so much about my personality and whatnot comes from Kingdom Hearts, and just, I'll get more into that later, I suppose. Games I don't like. Scarlet Nexus. I enjoyed Code Vein, and I thought Scarlet Nexus was going to be like that, but it wasn't. So, yeah, I started a playthrough on the channel, and then I didn't finish it quickly thereafter. Final Fantasy 13. FF13 was the first Final Fantasy game that I ever played, and I didn't like it. It was... I wanted to play it for the story after I determined that I did not like the gameplay, so I just started skipping enemy encounters until I got to a boss that I just could not survive. And then I quit after 19 hours of playtime. I put down the controller and I haven't gone back. Call of Duty and basically any military shooter. It's not what I'm here for, bruv. It's not any sort of world that I ever want to escape to where I am military man with gun, shoot, bang, bang, kill streak. So I can almost definitely say, unless one of them has a fucking amazing story that gets all sorts of mentions and whatnot, I can almost safely say that you will never see any sort of military style shooter on this unless sometime way down the line I do collabs with people, which is not something I'm focusing on right now as I'm building my channel. Games that aren't fun playing by yourself. Obviously, I like to play games with my friends. A lot of FF14 content you'll see me do with my friends Kevin and Jess. But there are certain games out there that are just meant to be played with other people. And while you can play them by yourself, it's just not the same, right? So, like, games like Among Us and stuff like that, party games, like, again, you won't really see that unless sometime down the line I start doing collabs. Games that don't really have a story. I'm a writer. I live for good stories. So, off the top of my head, fighting games besides Mortal Kombat aren't really known for their story, so you probably won't see a whole lot of that on the channel either. Genshin Impact and Kingdom Hearts. So, a little bit of a tangent. How can you love Genshin Impact and Kingdom Hearts, but also not like Kingdom Hearts and Genshin Impact? Simple. I love everything about Genshin Impact. The art style, the characters, the writing, the music, everything about Genshin Impact is like a 10 out of 10, except the fucking gameplay of this cursed gotcha spend $7,000 and still not fucking C6 your character. It's so infuriating. And I played a lot of that game till I got burnt out, and I want to get back into Genshin Impact for the story. I mean, I have a huge playthrough of it on the channel right now, but I just don't want to deal with the horrendous RNG of that game. Everything about that game is geared towards you paying them money to progress. So I don't know if I'll ever get back into Genshin Impact. Kingdom Hearts. I used to love Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is what inspired me to come out of the closet IRL. And just, there's lots of things that I wanted from that game that just never happened. And there's lots of writing narratively that just don't make sense, or it's too convoluted. But I put up with it because I loved it so much. And then Shadowbringers came out. And then Endwalker came out. And I was exposed to what real good storytelling is. And then I look back at Kingdom Hearts and I just couldn't see it the same way anymore. So, yeah, I'll play Kingdom Hearts 4 when it comes out in 2035. But, like, I'm not going to be as excited for it. To know how excited I used to be for Kingdom Hearts, you can go back and watch my Kingdom Hearts 3 playthrough, my blind run of that game. I used to be so emotionally attached to the Kingdom Hearts series, and I still am to the characters, but it's a complicated relationship. What do we got next? Shows and anime. Gundam. Like, all of them. I don't think I've seen a Gundam show that I haven't liked. I don't remember a lot because of my memory issues, obviously, but I know that I enjoyed them. I haven't seen everything, obviously, but that's mostly because some of the things are hard to find. They're not, like, streaming anywhere, or, like, you have to pay, like, $60 for a Blu-ray, and I'm not about that, so... Marvel shows, I've enjoyed all that, and I guess that extends to the Marvel movies. Dragon Ball, loved Dragon Ball as a kid. I enjoyed Super, even though it wasn't the best when it came back. And Dragon Ball still, to this day, is very influential to me. Stranger Things, enjoy the hell out of that. My Hero Academia, I haven't watched it in a while, but I enjoyed it. Forged in Fire, I just like seeing things get made sometimes, so seeing people make cool swords and weapons and shit, I'm down for it. Or in High School Host Club. I'll probably talk about that at a later point of how that was influential to how I write certain characters. British Bake Off show. Whenever I'm cooking and I need something to play in the background, that's it. Haikyuu, really enjoyed that. I don't know if they ever released season 4 of the dub. Doctor Who, used to be very much into Doctor Who. Haven't watched since... Is her name Jodie Whittaker? Since her doctor took over. There was just it was a big change in writers and how they made the show and whatnot, and it just wasn't very enjoyable for me. So I was a big fan of the Stephen Moffat era of Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi. Depending on the day, I'll give you a different answer as to which one of those two is my favorite doctor. But Tennant's coming back. Russell T. Davies is coming back to write the show. Again, they weren't my favorite doctors, but I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them heavily. So maybe I'll get back into that. Gurren Lagann, big influential there. Castlevania, loved that show on Netflix. Evangelion. Avatar: The Last Airbender. When I think of an art style that I would like to emulate in terms of drawing and what my characters' designs look for, Avatar is what I'm sort of going for. Not too cartoony, not too realistic. Beastars, Arcane was phenomenal. One Punch Man, The Witcher with Henry Cavill. Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid, and tying into Avatar is sort of Dragon Prince. If you like Avatar, if you enjoyed Avatar: The Last Airbender, I highly suggest that you go watch Dragon Prince on Netflix. Good times, good times. Music! Soken. Literally anything Soken makes. For those who don't know, Soken is the lead composer for Final Fantasy XIV and coming up, Final Fantasy XVI. If you never plan on playing FF14, at least do yourself a favor and go look up the greatest hits from that game, because it is multiple genres, all genres, and they're all fucking bangers, man. Yoko Shimomura, like I said, if there's one thing that is undeniably good about Kingdom Hearts, it's the fucking music. Metal. I'm very much into metal. It's probably my go-to genre. So, Slipknot, Killswitch Engage, Polaris, Northlane. I like how I put Northlane there, like I listened to more than one song of theirs. Rob Zombie, Very Union, sort of things like that. I guess more specifically, you could put metalcore. Rock, Evanescence, Ghost, Linkin Park, The Broken View, Pendulum, those sort of things, all good. Pop, Utada Hikaru, Sam Smith, Taylor Swift. Hip-hop. I've been getting more and more into hip-hop recently. I used to be really against hip-hop, but hip-hop sort of changed in the last couple of years. So Lizzo, The Weeknd, Doja Cat, Lil Nas X, love all those artists. The Weeknd is probably my favorite. And then just in general, like synth, 80s retro, I love that sort of sound. So there's lots of little single songs that I listen from various artists, but basically anything that sounds like Daft Punk, right? So love that. Anything that sounds like the Tron Legacy soundtrack. Oh my god. Goals. 10k subs on YouTube. I'm at 1.3k right now. Well, as of the recording of this video. And I want to get to 10k. At 10k subs, I will work on the next part of Theseus's lore, which is something I really want to do with this channel. Is as it grows, I want to expand on Theseus's lore. I know where it can go. I know what the ending is, and I want to expand on it as we go further and further. Writing streams. I've never done a writing stream. In fact, it's something that I only recently learned about that people actually do. That sounds like so much fun to me, so that's definitely something that I want to get started soon. Gunpla streams. Just casual hand cam streams. Maybe just not a whole lot of talking, just maybe just for ASMR's sake, just listening to me and watching me make Gunpla. It'll give me an excuse to make more Gunpla, and I would very much enjoy that. Playing games with viewers. So this is something that I was inspired to do by Larry Zor. It's not something you really see a whole lot of people do these days. I can't really think of viewers being able to play, especially with VTubers, unless it's like incredibly specific. But an FF14 content creator, he doesn't do a whole lot of content creation anymore. Larry Zor, whenever he would stream FF14, he would just have casual streams where he just play FF14 with viewers, make a party finder, and that's something I would very much love to do. Learn Japanese. In this medium that I am in, it would be the most useful language to learn, and I want to learn another language besides Duck. Finish my first novel. So I started working on it last year, and I put a serious amount of work into it. I think I was like 75% of the way done with draft 3. So for those who don't know, they say that when you make your first book, you're gonna make like 5 drafts. And when I finished the first draft, I was like, oh god, yeah, there's gonna be a few of these. So before I start on the next draft, I just kind of want to decide where exactly it was going. Because the first draft had a completely different main character, and just like second draft focused on 2 characters, and I kind of have 2 different stories in my head right now, both involving the same characters, and like both have their strengths and weaknesses. So I'm just kind of just sorting out in my head what goes where and what I want to keep. I want to finish that. I need to finish that. Expand on Theseus lore, as I just said. When I hit 10k subs is when I want to do the first expansion on that. So hopefully we can hit that sometime this year. FF14 Warrior of Light lore. That's my character in Final Fantasy XIV. That's kind of how I got started writing lore and whatnot in the first place, was with my Warrior of Light lore, which a lot of my friends enjoy. So I'd like to bring that to the forefront to any of the Final Fantasy XIV community who might end up watching my stream. Might be enjoyable for them. And of course, with finishing my novel, I'd love to just spout and talk endlessly about all my characters from my novel. And just to give a little bit of detail on it right now, the working title I have right now is Infinite Mageworks. It's a story about a world, a contemporary world, a lot like our own, but all magic and all gods are real. Pick a culture, whatever they think magic is real. Whatever gods they worship is real. It's about this young man who goes to the most prestigious Mageworks Academy in arguably the entire world, if at the very least the country that he lives in. But the academy is called Samhain Academy, and I put a lot of hard work and effort to really make it feel like a real place that you could go to and visit. It's not Hogwarts, it's not some magical castle. It feels like a real college that you could go to, but one that's steeped in history and it's ancient and all sorts of good stuff like that. And I've got a lot of characters and I've got a lot of details in my head that if I spend too much time talking about them, we'll be here all day, and I'm sure this video is long enough already. Alright, and we arrive at the credits. Oh boy, a lot of credits to get through, so let's start getting through them. I'd like to thank @Chrisu Music here on YouTube. I tried looking for his Twitter, but I couldn't find one. He has Facebook and Patreon and stuff like that. He makes a lot of great royalty-free music, copyright-free music. So I believe he calls it Chill Step. It's very relaxed, and I enjoy it a lot. So expect to hear a lot of that on the channel. Art. Big shout out to MemoryOfDarksky. I'd really like to thank them for the PNG model that you see here, as well as all the art for the slides, all the art on the channel, on Twitter, all that sort of thing. Big shout out to MemoryOfDarksky. Couldn't do this without him. Editing, I'd like to thank my editor @MemoryOfDarksky. They're responsible for the video that you see right now. Lore. Big shout outs. Lore written entirely by @MemoryOfDarksky. I'm so thankful to them for putting together all this incredible lore that I love it so much. So thank you, MemoryOfDarksky. VA, for the lore video, like to thank @MemoryOfDarksky for lending me their voice. And this PowerPoint that we are watching right now, it was a bit hard to find someone who could make a decent PowerPoint. It's not exactly something that was advertised a whole lot. But thank you to MemoryOfDarksky doing this last minute, so I greatly appreciate it, dude. Thanks. Anyway, moving on. As far as where you can find me, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Don't sleep on TikTok. I post a lot of content there. MemoryOfDarksky all across the board. I wanted one name for everything, so that should make things easy to find. Finally, we did it. I know this has been a long video. Thank you so much to anyone who came by and stopped by and to watch and made it all the way through to the end. Thank you guys so much. This has been a lot of work, a lot of effort, and I'm hoping you guys enjoy it as much as I do. And I'm looking forward to what the future brings. So thank you for watching. See you soon. It's been... Ooh, this is a huge weight off my shoulders to finally get this debut done. As far as what I'm planning on doing, I'm not sure when I'm going to start the writing streams. I don't have a set schedule. This isn't my job. I'm not making a cent of money from any of this, so this is sort of just my hobby for now. I know what I'd like to do. Obviously, there's going to be more FF14. We still need to get Eurela from A Realm Reborn up to Endwalker. I want to check out Forspoken. Either way, please look forward to everything coming out in the future, and be sure to, as the intro video suggested, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you guys later. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, all of them, @MemoryOfDarksky. See you guys around. Bye-bye. Bye. Bye. Bye, ghosties. Bye. I'm fading away.